Welcome to the Beauty and the Beard Pro Wrestling Podcast. I'm Woody.
I am Sarah.
And I have no idea what we're going to talk about today on this episode of the show. So,
it's a
Sarah,
surprise.
could you please enlighten me on what I'm supposed to talk about?
So what we're going to talk about is, obviously, we've only just started this podcast, so we've not done this every year. But my theory going forward is, at the end of every year, we're going to look back at that year and decide what our best pay-per-view was from that year and what our match from that pay-per-view was that year. But considering we're in 2021 and we've only had one pay-per-view, we can't do it for this year. So we're going back in time to 2019 and 2020.
In that Wayback Machine.
In that Wayback Machine. And we're going to have a little look back at some of the pay-per-views and the matches, what we enjoyed.
Yes. That sounds like a good idea. Let's do that.
Okay. So the idea is, from each year, 2019 and 2021, your favorite pay-per-view and the match from the pay-per-view. So Woody, from 2019, what was your favorite pay-per-view and what was the match from that pay-per-view?
All right. My favorite AEW pay-per-view from 2019, which any pay-per-view from 2019, because that's all I was watching in 2019. That's all I'm watching now. So it doesn't matter about the other promotions because this is it for me and for you.
And for me.
Yep. So mine was the one that started them all for AEW, and that was Double or Nothing 2019. Mainly just because, man, the memories that has for me, how that hooked me in. I know we talked about it on our first episode of how that was really what sold me and sold you too on how AEW felt and how much emotion that created for both of us watching it and for a lot of fans. I mean, between Cody and Dustin, their literal blood feud on that pay-per-view that turned into such an emotional match. For some people, too emotional. Some people over the top, but it hit the sweet spot for me. I thought it was great. You had the Young Bucks against the Lucha Brothers on that show too for the AAA Tag Team Championships. But the Chris Jericho Kenny Omega match from that pay-per-view, it was the main event. That would be my favorite match from the show. Was it the greatest, a 5-star match? Not necessarily, but because of everything that happened during that match, because of how big of a moment it was, Kenny Omega on this big stage against Chris Jericho, and it's to crown the first world champion in AEW. Had a lot of weight to that match, and because of what happened after the match, and that was your guy Jon Moxley, him making his debut with AEW and literally shocking the wrestling world when he came out of the crowd, and eventually spiked Kenny Omega off of those poker chips. Yeah, that match with the added on post match would be my match from that pay-per-view, because we got to see the first AEW champion crown from Chris Jericho. And then a lot of big moments after that. So
100%,
that's the one for me.
That's your 2019 pick.
Yes, that's it.
My 2019 pick would have been Double or Nothing for obvious reasons. One Jon Moxley arrived. But I'm going to go towards the end of the year and say Full Gear.
I know why.
And do you know why?
I do. A pretty good idea.
The unsanctioned lights out match for Jon Moxley, who defeated Kenny Omega. Look, the anticipation for this match was really high because obviously they were meant to have this previously at All Out, I think it was. And then obviously Moxley injured his elbow. And there was a whole, that's kind of where I think the feud really started kicking off between them. It had built up anyway from when Moxley had arrived, but it really started picking up a bit of pace around here because obviously Kenny did that promo where it was like, oh, you got a little boo-boo on your elbow type thing. And I just remember thinking, I just want Moxley to knock your lights out. Like, that's what I want now. So it was leading up to this, and I think everyone was going, well, what's this going to be like between Jon Moxley, who has done loads of these types of matches before, and Kenny Omega, who hasn't really done these before, so it
Mm-hmm.
should be an interesting dynamic. And I just remember it, watching it with just like my mouth open, just like it was so like, I love this. I was just like loving it. And I just remember them like panning to the crowd, and like the crowd were genuinely like, oh my God, like genuinely like looking really shocked. Like they got like the broom with the barbed wire around it, and like the glass, and you know, like the ending of it where like Moxley rips up all of the matting in the ring, and there's just them bare boards. And
that was rough.
It just looked fantastic. And I remember showing it quite a few people like a few days later. And these are the people that are like, oh, wrestling, it's fake, blah, 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 blah. And you could just see them going, what? I was like, yeah, that's legit barbed wire. Like that they're proper thumbtacks. That's actual wood.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a trampoline full of barbed wire that they all got tangled in.
And gravity ain't fake.
Yeah, and
gravity's real.
Looked at me going, what are you watching? I was like, isn't it great? And I think it took me back to that, like I was saying in the other podcast, of like Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy and the Dudleys and Edge and Christian.
Yeah.
Like the like extreme side of it is sometimes, as long as it's done in quotes safely and it's not actually going to kill somebody.
Amen. Yep.
It looks legit brilliant. It just looks really good. And I still probably something I go back to watch quite a bit, that, because I really enjoyed it.
It's a good one.
It is.
I had a feeling. I had a feeling you would go with that one.
I wonder why.
You like those unsanctioned matches.
I do. So for 2020, sir, what was your favorite pay-per-view and the match from the pay-per-view?
2020 is an absolute no-brainer for me. It was the last pay-per-view with a full crowd.
Yeah.
And we've had some really cool moments, even in the no crowd or minimal crowd era of AEW. But yeah, this Revolution, that was phenomenal. The whole pay-per-view from beginning to end was really good, in my opinion. But the match that really, really stood out, I think it was standing out for a lot of people from that pay-per-view, was Kenny Omega and Adam Page versus the Young Bucks for the tag titles.
Oh, yes.
I mean, that was, a lot of people called it the greatest tag team match ever. Maybe. It's at least in the conversation. I've seen a lot of great tag team matches in my years of watching professional wrestling. But yes, this one is up there, absolutely towards the top. All four of those guys, the emotion in that match between these former friends of the Elite, and you see them in this match, that really, a lot of emotions came out in the match, but the action was just off the charts. There were so many near falls. You felt like the Bucks, there was a chance this is going to be their moment. They're going to win the tag titles.
Yeah.
So there were so many near falls that had me just jumping off the couch over and over again, to the point where I was just standing up to watch the rest of the match. I didn't sit back down. I was anticipating something huge happening. So yeah, that match may have been my favorite match in all of 2020, and possibly my favorite match in all of AEW so far. Absolutely love that match.
100%.
Yep, and I love that pay-per-view. So that's mine for 2020.
Just for 2020.
What is yours?
So I'm gonna go a bit in a ski that I don't think many people think I'm gonna say. But I'm going with Double or Nothing 2020.
It's a good one.
For Stadium Stampede.
Yeah. Yes.
You've got to admit that match has literally, you still go back and watch it and you can still find stuff that you didn't see before. Because there's so much going on. You're just generally like looking for all the little developments. And also, if you think about the storyline of the Elite and the Inner Circle, like on complete opposite sides now of what they were back then. It's such it's so fascinating to watch. And also the interactions between Omega and Hangman, because that was when they were still just coping with everything, and you can just see like the little like glimmers of like where the Young Bucks look at Kenny going, where is he? And Omega's like, he'll be here, and you're generally thinking, but where is Hangman? Like, where is he? And forever, Sammy Guevara being chased by a horse and a cart on the same match will forever just be gift moments for the rest of history. Because
the look on Sammy's face. The look on Sammy's face.
Every time I see him now running from objects, I just hear that run. That's all I can hear now every time I see him run from something. But as an actual match, and we know it was pre-recorded for obvious reasons, I'm not, you know, but just what was in it and the fact that, look, I've never like claimed to be a massive fan of the Elite or anything like that, but I've always loved stuff with the Inner Circle. Even when they were beating up Jon Moxley, I've always loved just like the little character twists that they've all got. And like when Santana and Ortiz had Matt Hardy and he started coming out in different versions of Matt Hardy and like and Ortiz going, I can't swim. And you just see him flaying about in like 6 centimeters of water. Like, it's just it was just absolutely fantastic to watch, and another match that I don't think I'll ever get bored of rewatching. So
that was good.
That is my pick. So I'm going to give us both a treat now. We get one final pick, a wild card, if you will.
Wild card.
One more pick out of 2019 or 2020 pay-per-view and match. Just in case you thought, I wish I could pick that one, but I have to go this one. There's just one. You can just have one more.
And there was one, and that was in 2019, All Out 2019, because the Young Bucks are so good. And you know that I think this, and the world knows this, how great the Young Bucks are. I'm going with All Out 2019, the Lucha Brothers versus the Young Bucks in the Escalera de la Muerte. Yes, but like this match was everything you would expect from a ladder match between the Lucha Brothers and the Young Bucks. I mean, the talent you have in that ring. When you put Ray Phoenix, you know, as much as I love the Young Bucks, you put Ray Phoenix in the ring with a ladder, look out. That was fun. This whole match was great. Yeah, all four of them put a lot on the line. There was a lot of spots in there where I was really worried about the health of the competitors in this match. A couple of times with Nick Jackson, I thought he was injured. But yeah, so definitely this match between the Lucha Brothers and the Young Bucks, All Out 2019. That's my wild card.
That's your wild card.
For sure. How about you, man? What is your wild card?
My wild card.
One more pick.
It's got to be Revolution 2020.
Yep.
One, that entire card is ridiculous. Can I just say?
It is.
But it has to be that defining moment when Jon Moxley removed his eye patch and he could see all along. And Jericho's like, I was training for a guy that could only see out one eye. And he beats him for that championship. And the whole speech and the glory you can see on his face when he realized the entire crowd was behind him. That moment and that sheer noise volume. I generally got chills when that happened. I was just like, he just looked absolutely elated. And little did he know, he was carrying that belt through a pandemic. But he did it, and that defined... I think Jericho, he was the first champion, and that defined the belt. But I think this defined the belt with Jon Moxley and how even through all of that, you know, limitations that they got put on him with no crowds and couldn't wrestle for so long and everything had to be taped and all that, he still put on such amazing championship defenses. And a lot of people go, his run wasn't that great. But could anybody else have done any better in those circumstances?
I think he was crowd. You know, I give you crap about Jon Moxley all the time, but in all seriousness, though, I don't know if there's another guy that could have held that belt through a pandemic and done as well as he had done. It really, you couldn't have picked a better guy to be carrying the company through that. So
he literally I just think that just sums up for me when someone like in years to come will go, what was the moment that stood out for you, like during the pandemic era of like wrestling? And it'll be him having that title, not just because he's the guy that I am for in that company 100%, but just for the fact that he still put on amazing matches while there was nobody there. And all right, we'll all go back and go, well, that Hager match wasn't great. No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
But still, there was no crowd there, and he performed like it was filled.
Yeah.
And
it
just started at Revolution 2020, and that is my wild card.
That's a good wild card. Really good.
I literally could have picked like every single pay-per-view. But that was great, and that was great. But we have to get it down to like just 3.
This is going to be fun at the end of each year, though. Picking your favorite pay-per-view from the year and your favorite pay-per-view match. So yeah,
definitely.
I like this.
I just think it would be a nice way to round off.
Yeah, I like it.
Oh, so
sounds like a plan.
Favorite pay-per-views of 2019 and 2020 and matches.
Please let us know what yours are.
Yes.
Let us know on Twitter. Let us know in the comments on our posts what your favorite pay-per-views were from each year and your favorite matches, because I would love to see if yours match up with mine, hers, or if they're completely different.
Yeah, it should be a good mix. I'd be interested to see what other people's thoughts are, because everybody has their own individual tastes and everybody has their own favorite wrestlers. So it should be a varied collection.
Absolutely. Good idea. You have good ideas sometimes.
I do have brains.
And this was one of those good ideas. I like it.
This was. Thank you.
Yeah. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode. It was fun to do. I honestly, when I say I didn't know what we were doing until we started, I really didn't. We hit record and I'm like, I'm still looking. I'm still trying to figure it out. So anyways, this is fun. I like surprises. Surprises are good. Sometimes.
Yes. Sometimes, yes.
Don't forget to follow the channel on Twitter at BeautyXTheBeard. You can follow me at Let the Beard Play. You can follow Sarah at Strange _. Thank you guys. Y'all be good out there, and we will see you on the next one.
Bye.